What's going on, bottom line viewers? It's Mitch here, live for another day of NFL free agency analysis. In this video, I'll be reacting to every move from day 2 of NFL free agency 2022, including a couple trades involving my Patriots, and a lot more. Some big name safeties off the board today. We had a couple low-key, really nice moves by certain teams and contenders. So there's a lot to discuss here today. It hasn't been super eventful this free agency. I feel there's still a few bigger names on the board, actually, like Tyrann Mathieu, Allen Robinson, Von Miller. There's still some big-time guys still to fall here. So we'll see how that goes throughout the rest of the week, and I'll be here for the rest of the week. I'm still trying to figure out my content in terms of how I want to release certain things for these signings and stuff. If anybody wants to, in the comments, take timestamps of when I react to certain moves, that would be really appreciated. If you guys want to do that, that's totally up to you. Anyways, regardless, we are going to react to every move. I've got my Twitter here set up just in case something breaks live. So I'll be reacting to everything from stuff that's already happened, stuff that happened late last night, all the way until stuff that's happened today, which there's been plenty of stuff that's happened today. So what's going on, everybody? You can follow me on Twitter at Mitch Milani, where I've reacted to a few things today on Twitter. If you don't hear from me on YouTube, a good place to go is Twitter for my thoughts and analysis. For something that I don't think is, big enough for me to make a video, I react to it on Twitter. You could also follow the new TikTok at TheBottomLineView. I've left the link in the description. More TikToks coming very soon. I actually just filmed one before I went on air about the Patriots, so that's going to be coming out. So make sure that you follow the TikTok for sure at TheBottomLineView. What's going on, Ladarius? How you doing, Monty? He says he hates the Patriots. What's up, Singh? What's going on, man? Basketball and football moment says go Pats, and he says get Chris Godwin. Well, unfortunately for the Patriots, Chris Godwin has been franchised by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, so he will not be on the Patriots this year. So that, that kind of sucks for the Patriots, but it's good for Tom Brady, you know what I mean? Tom Brady is going to be a very happy man today. We're going to talk about Shaq Mason for sure. Nicholas Gill's in the chat. He wants the Bears to sign Juju. He also says this free agency is very quiet. So if you guys haven't already, before we get started, make sure you do Gronk Spike that like button. And also, Gronk Spike the notification bell to be notified with my latest live stream. Okay, so I've got all of the signings here. I'm going to react first to the Patriots trades. There were 2 of them today. I'm going to start with the Patriots and the Cleveland Browns trade that happened very early in the day. So that trade is that the Patriots sent outside linebacker, edge player, Chase Winovich, to the Cleveland Browns for linebacker Mack Wilson. This is a low-key move by both teams to help depth in both positions of need. Chase Winovich is a player that I've always liked from a pure pass rushing standpoint. I thought he really stood out in 2019 as a rookie, 2020 in his second season, playing a bigger role in 2020 due to a lack of depth and overall talent at that position. But during that season, he failed to really take advantage of that role as the team's potential go-to pass rusher. In 2019, though, he showcased a ton of upside as a rookie. 2021, he didn't play very much. He didn't have a very big role on the team as the Patriots signed Matthew Judon. They signed Kyle Van Noy. They brought in a few edge players. Josh Uche was also involved. So Chase Winovich was very deep and down on the depth chart, really only coming in late game situations and third and longs at the very most. So Chase Winovich is a pure example to me for New England of a guy that just never really fit the system. This is not to say he's a bad player for Browns fans. Chase Winovich is a good football player. He can play football. He was in the wrong scheme. He was in a scheme where the Patriots want their edge players to be able to set the edge, contain the quarterback, not get overzealous, not get over aggressive, not try to turn that corner and constantly get to the quarterback. On the other hand, Chase Winovich is a player that is very, very pass rush quarterbacks first. He's aggressive. He tries to go for the sack, the big play, the strip. He tries to get to the quarterback and make plays, and he's good at it. He's not great at it. He's good at it, though. And I think he's kind of an underrated pickup here for Cleveland. If he's a team's third edge player in a rotation where he comes in on third down, he's a really nice asset for Cleveland. I think if he takes the spot of Takk McKinley in that lineup on that depth chart, that is the role ideally for him. So Chase Winovich is a player that I would have liked to have worked in New England, and he did for a little bit, but I think both player and team just didn't suit each other, if that makes sense. So Chase Winovich, trading him was the right move from New England's perspective because they didn't have any future plans for him. But the team that picked him up was going to get value, and I wouldn't be surprised if Winovich went to Cleveland this year and had 6 or 7 sacks, because he has that type of ability. So he goes to Cleveland in a system that is going to be much better for his skill set. Now, in return for New England, they get linebacker Mack Wilson. Very similar to Chase Winovich here. Mack Wilson showcased his ability and talent as a rookie and really played a bigger role for Cleveland as a rookie and a younger player. He was a 5th-round pick in the same draft that Winovich was a 3rd-round pick. Wilson, I believe, is formerly from Alabama, which obviously New England really likes players from Alabama. Nick Saban teaches similarly to Belichick, so there's a lot of carryover and crossover there. But what I like about this move for New England is that they get an athletic linebacker who can cover, and when he has played, has graded fairly well throughout his career. He didn't play as big of a role last year as the Browns put primary assets into their linebacker position, bringing in Anthony Walker, bringing in JOK from the draft. So they had linebackers that they preferred, just like New England brought in edge players that they preferred over Winovich. So this to me is just an example of a trade of two teams identifying players on other teams that fit their system better than the other team, and then swapping two players that don't work for them but might work for the other team. So Mack Wilson is going to do a better job in New England, I feel, because he's a player that maybe doesn't have a lot of ability to ad-lib and make a lot of big-time splash plays, but he's very good at playing his role and what's designed, and he's more athletic than a lot of the Patriots linebackers. They're trying to get faster, they're trying to get better in coverage at that level, and that improves the Patriots from that perspective. And he's not going to be a game changer or anything, but he's going to be somebody that can play a role for this team and compete for a spot in that lineup on, certain situations. Same thing for Winovich, where he's not going to be a starter for every down, but he'll play a role as a pure pass rushing specialist for Cleveland. So this trade makes a lot of sense, player for player, Cleveland and the New England Patriots. Now, the other trade for New England today, which was a lot more controversial, was the Patriots trading their all-world guard. He's not an all-pro, but he is a Pro Bowler, Shaq Mason, to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This was a massive trade for Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is looking to go back to the Super Bowl this season, and one of their key departures was the retirement of Ali Marpet. Not the loss of Alex Kappa, but the retirement of Ali Marpet, who's been one of the best guards in the NFL for the last few seasons. Now, what do? But they trade for one of the best guards in the NFL from the New England Patriots, a guard that has played with Tom Brady, won 2 Super Bowls with Tom Brady, and has been very, very consistent both in the run and the pass game. Shaq Mason is a top 5 guard at the right guard position, which is where he'll play for Tampa Bay. He's probably somewhere in the top 10 at his position overall. I believe he graded 4th by PFF this season and was overall the Patriots' best offensive lineman in 2021. So clearly, This is a massive loss for New England. But why do you make this trade, right? Shaq Mason for a 5th round pick in this year's draft. I talk about this on my TikTok that I'm about to post later on about where the Patriots are as a franchise. And I believe, Patriots fans, because we have it wired in our brains that the Patriots are supposed to be Super Bowl contenders every season, they don't realize that it's going to take some time to get there. And this season, 2022, is looking like a season of transition. And Shaq Mason is a player that, when you look at his contract, $7 million of cap space this year, $8 million of cap space next year. So overall, you're getting a ton of cap relief by trading Shaq Mason to potentially use in other areas. Now, some people may say, why would you want to use it in other areas and not use it on our guard? I'm not sure. That's Belichick's decision. Maybe Belichick identifies that they don't need to have guards making all this money and they can go cheaper at this position and try to put more money into other areas of their football team. Maybe that's what he's intending here. But Shaq Mason is 28 years old. He was on a 2-year contract. The Bucs take on that 2-year contract, all of it, and they get a very good guard for a team that's in a win now mode. So it makes sense from the Bucs perspective. You trade a 5th round pick, you're trying to win the Super Bowl for a guard that instantly is going to replace a very good player, and you're going to get very good production out of that player as well. And what I like about the Shaq Mason fit for the Bucs is like he is the perfect Buck offensive lineman. That's what made it very easy for me to see this trade happening earlier in the offseason. I saw Shaq Mason as a potential trade candidate because of the potential cap relief that New England could get from him. This is a very Patriot-like move. They make this move all the time. They made this move with the same team, Tampa Bay, with Logan Mankins back in 2014. A lot of people said, why are you making this move? And it was for a similar pick. I believe it was for a 5th or 4th round pick at the time as well. So it's very similar to trading Logan Mankins, who at the time was like one of the best guards in the NFL. They traded him to Tampa Bay. And at the time, it was criticized. But Belichick makes these moves all the time. You know, this is just something that he's always done. And would I have liked as a Patriots fan to get more than a 5th round pick for a great guard? Yes. But you got to realize, look at the market right now in the trade market. Like, other teams understanding that you're going to get all this cap relief are not going to give you a 3rd round pick for a player that's going to give you $15 million of cap relief. They're not going to do that. Just look at what Amari Cooper got on the open market. And he's a wide receiver, which is a lot more valuable of a position. So it makes, and this is just the Belichick formula of things. This always happens. The only thing that he could rely on, though, is that some of these moves that didn't pay off in the past, it didn't matter because he had the greatest football player that ever lived. Now, Shaq Mason is on that team with Tampa Bay, and Tampa Bay's lining up a Super Bowl run. Shaq Mason fits Tampa Bay. He's this downhill destroyer of a run blocker. He's big. He's just an absolute destroyer. And he's exactly what Tampa Bay loves in their guards and their offensive linemen. They've got a big offensive line. So now you're going to have Mason next to Wirfs, which is going to be a lot of fun to watch on the right side of Tampa Bay. So that's my outlook on the trade. A lot of Patriots fans don't understand where this team is at. Look at the AFC. They're not beating these teams. They're not beating the Bills. They're not beating the Chargers. They're not beating even the Broncos. They're not beating these teams, guys. I get it. We made the playoffs last year. We lost by like 7,000 points in the first round of the playoffs. So let's build our team for 2023, 2024. Down the road, we'll get another season with Mac where he can develop and get to that level where now we can try to go all in. Once we identify that Mac is at that like around that top 10 level, which I think he can get to, the main priority for me right now is get a receiver so that we can see that. And I think that's what the Patriots intend on doing. And they're going to try to use their cap space wisely. I don't think they're done building the offensive line. Obviously, the offensive line needs a lot of work. So we'll see what they do there. But I think they're going to try to use some of this money to build a team for 2 years from now, 3 years from now, when Mac is truly hitting his stride as a player. 2022 might be frustrating, guys, but realize that we weren't winning the Super Bowl this year. We need to reshape our linebacking core, reshape our secondary. We let our best player go, and then our offense still needed to work too, and we didn't have all the assets to be able to do that. So that's where my head's at as a Patriots fan. Meanwhile, the Bucs are probably going to win the Super Bowl anyways, so just give them Shaq Mason, and then we'll get a ring back. Tommy will send it in the mail. You know what I mean? So that's the way I'm looking at it for that trade. Let's get to some of the questions from people in the comments. Durkan is saying fins up. Vince asks, is Mac Jones a franchise quarterback? I believe he is. Look, he had one of the 5 best rookie quarterback seasons of all time. And I think he's, for such a young quarterback, he processes, he sees the game at such a high level. He is extremely accurate. Really, the only thing he's missing is that arm strength of a lot of the elite quarterbacks. But that can improve. We saw that improve with Tom Brady, even from 01 to 03. Remember, Brady as a player, and I'm not trying to compare Mac to Brady, but the beginning stages of these players, Brady really grew in his 3rd year. That's really when he became an elite player, right? So Mac is going to take those strides, and that's when you intend on building that championship team, is in that 3rd, 4th year with that. Just as the Chargers are doing, by the way. Look at the Bills. The Bills, with Josh Allen, he didn't really hit his stride until his 3rd or 4th season. So that is where they're looking, and that's where I think they should be looking to improve this team. What's going on with the internet? Is something happening? Did something happen with the stream? I hope not. Maybe it's just Durkant. What's up, Justin Herbert? I saw Vince says, cool shirt. Rest in peace, Scott Hall. Yes. By the way, that's why I'm wearing this shirt. Rest in peace, Scott Hall, one of the greatest wrestlers, personalities of all time. Rest in peace to him. That's why I'm wearing this shirt. That's a tribute right now. So rest in peace, Scott Hall. Do you think the Patriots have focused more on offense? Well, they haven't yet. They haven't made many moves yet. Okay, I'm just a little bit worried about the internet because yesterday, for whatever reason, YouTube was tripping, so. Jets have improved. I saw my guy Thomas in the chat from Catch the Blitz. I got to look at his question. He said something. He said, what's going on, Mitch? I'm thinking Collins to New England. What about you? I would like that as long as the contract's manageable. The thing that I wouldn't really love is that they would trade Shaq Mason for Collins. And if they have very similar contracts, I wouldn't be a huge fan of that. But I will say that Collins, obviously, more valuable position, playing tackle. Similar age. I think they're both 28. But Collins is a lot more injury prone. So it's a little bit, I don't know. It kind of depends on the money because, like I said, it doesn't really make a ton of sense to trade Mason and then acquire Collins unless the money is right and you're getting him for cheaper and you can get some sort of deal there where it looks like a win. Maybe they'll just identify tackle as being more important. I don't know, but what do you think about the Marcus Williams signing? We're going to get there, guys. We're going to get there. Let's go next to the Chiefs. So let's go to Justin Reed. I haven't covered this yet. This happened last night. This was a big move. The Kansas City Chiefs signed free safety Justin Reed to a 3-year, $31.5 million deal with $20 million guaranteed. Honey Badger, meanwhile, Tyrann Mathieu is going to be headed elsewhere. So Justin Reed, 3-year, $31.5 million contract. I think Justin Reed was one of the more undervalued, not necessarily underrated, but undervalued safeties on the market. A player that has immense upside and immense talent, but has been in a bad situation. He's been in a very bad situation with Houston. I don't think he was properly utilized in that scheme a year ago, but he has flashed a lot of high-end ability. What Justin Reid does for this defense, he is, in my mind at least, quite a bit different from Tyrann Mathieu, which I find interesting. He is more of like the traditional free safety. He reminds me a little bit more of like a Devin McCourty type than like that Tyrann Mathieu kind of do-it-all, versatile safety. I think we saw a little bit of wear and tear in Tyrann Mathieu. He regressed a little bit last year, and he just didn't have the range at that position that the Chiefs needed. So what they get in Justin Reid is a rangy, fast, sideline-to-sideline playmaker in coverage. He's got very good instincts. He's got great pursuit when the ball is in the air to make a play. He can read a quarterback and jump the football. He's not going to be, that man-to-man cover player that Tyrann Mathieu was. Tyrann Mathieu could kind of like get in the box and play the run, blitz, play man-to-man at the nickel position. Justin Reid is more of the traditional deep free safety that is going to make sure that this defense doesn't give up big plays. But when the ball's in the air, similar to a Jesse Bates of the Bengals, he's going to be able to track it down and smack the ball, smack the player, smack the ball out of the air, and, make a play that way. So the Chiefs probably identified Matthew's losing some speed. Maybe we can give up this player. We've got some decent corners that can do that. Fenton is an example of that. He could play our nickel spot, play some man. But then we need the deep safety that can cover up from us giving up all these big plays, because Kansas City was giving up big plays. Daniel Sorensen was just absolutely horrific. So we get rid of him. He's not going to play. He's not going to see the field. Justin Reid's going to be the guy that's going to make sure that we don't give up those big plays. So that's the way I look at this move. It's a different approach for their safety position now for Kansas City moving forward for Spagnuolo's defense. But I do really like the player. 3-year contract. I don't think it's too expensive whatsoever. It's a very good deal for both sides. And I'm excited to see Justin Reid on a good team, on a good defense. And I'm intrigued to see if they try to utilize him like Tyrann Mathieu, or if they try to utilize him, as that kind of like traditional free safety type. But I do like the move from Kansas City. There was a move by the San Francisco 49ers at the corner position. We thought it might be coming. Leo with the super chat. Thank you so much, man. He says, Evans, Godwin, Gage. I'm going to get to Gage, by the way. He says it's probably the best trio in the NFL. Yeah, it might be. It's up there. I like Gage. We're going to talk about it. But first, let's talk about San Francisco. This move also happened last night while I was lying in bed. Former Chiefs cornerback Charvarius Ward leaves Kansas City. He intends to sign a 3-year deal worth up to $42 million, including $26.7 guaranteed with the 49ers. The 49ers finally get a cornerback. They finally get a cornerback. Finally get a cornerback. It's been a long time coming, Niners fans, that you have a number one corner. And that's what you have here with Charvarius Ward. Over the last 3 or 4 seasons, Charvarius Ward has been one of the more underrated perimeter corners in football, especially in man-to-man press coverage, where he has thrived in Kansas City. There are going to be highlights that you see on your timeline of him giving up big plays to Jamar Chase, but that was pretty much everybody in the NFL, including Jalen Ramsey. So don't worry about that too much. Here's the thing about Ward, though. He's probably not going to be put in as many of those situations as he was with the Chiefs. DeMeco Ryans, him taking over for Robert Saleh, shifted the defense. It shifted the philosophy. We saw the Niners early in the year try to attempt to become a more aggressive defense. DeMeco Ryans tried to blitz more. He just couldn't because the back end was not up to par. It wasn't capable enough of playing man on the back end and blitzing at the same time. So Ward is somebody that has that versatility of playing a lot of man in his career with good press ability. He's a pretty tall corner, pretty big corner. He's got solid speed. He's not the best in terms of his ball skills. That could definitely be some improvement, but I think if he had better ball skills, he'd be one of the more elite corners. I think that really is what separates him from being, let's say, a top 20 corner from being closer to the top 10 conversation, because he's not really great at playing the ball, but he is very good at just shadowing a receiver and being physical and taking him away. But DeMeco Ryans shifted that defensive philosophy from one as a pure cover 3 zone team, and we're just rushing 4, to being a more hybrid, versatile defense. And a number 1 corner that can play man like Ward opens up the possibilities of adding more layers to your defensive philosophy and scheme. So now you're going to be able to mix in more coverages in your back end thanks to this player with what you do up front. A big thing that hurt the Niners, especially versus the Rams in the NFC Championship, was the inability to play man coverage, was the inability to rely on your cornerbacks to make plays. And now you have a guy that can at least stand up to number 1 wide receivers on the other side. So this is what I love about this move, and this is why I wanted the Niners to make a move at the corner position, is because now it just, even though you lose a guy like DJ Jones and you lose maybe a couple pieces up front, your secondary is going to be so much more versatile and different and unpredictable that it makes up for maybe losing an individual talent up front to be able to get to the quarterback, because you can be more risky and aggressive that way. So very nice move for the 49ers. $42 million, 26.7 guaranteed. I would call Ward not a top tier corner, but in that second tier of number 1 corners, and the Niners now have him on their roster. So there you guys go. You got your best corner since Richard Sherman. Johnny Hecker, I heard about. Let's check if anything happened. No, nothing. Nothing. Okay. And Niners will lose in the NFC semifinal, says coach. All right. We'll see. Let's quickly talk about Tyrod Taylor. Talk about Tyrod Taylor. The New York Giants have a new backup quarterback. I thought it was going to be Mitch Trubisky, and they were in on Mitch Trubisky, but Trubisky got a better opportunity in Pittsburgh to pursue a starting job. So the Giants, they shift their attention to a veteran, Tyrod Taylor. Tyrod Taylor has signed a top backup deal, 2 years, $17 million to the Giants. Former Buffalo Bill, which is where Brian Daboll comes from, along with the front office, so there must be a connection there from the front office perspective, with Tyrod Taylor understanding the human being that is, from all accounts, a great guy, Tyrod Taylor. Tyrod Taylor is an upper echelon backup. He's not a starter in this league, but last year we saw him fill in for the Texans as the starter on the worst roster in the NFL and play pretty well. Play admirably, I would say. So he's going to give you a nice baseline. Daniel Jones has really struggled with health, especially if Daniel Jones is going to become a focal point of the running game for this football team. He's definitely going to be put at risk to potentially get hurt. So if Tyrod Taylor needs to step in, he can do an admirable job of doing so and keep the Giants competitive through those games. It also gives Daniel Jones a little bit of a push, right? A younger player that is yet to prove if he's the franchise guy. You give him a veteran behind him who can push him, make him better, maybe coach him up a little bit and just be a guy there that can help him out from a scouting perspective, from a film perspective, from a practice perspective. A pro's pro that is Tyrod Taylor can help a young quarterback improve, and I think that's the intention here, on top of the potential insurance that he provides as a football player. So I like this move quite a bit for the Giants, getting that solid backup that can do a variety of things from off the field to on the field. Daniel Jones is going to be the guy for the Giants, but Tyrod Taylor is going to be there as his backup for 2022 and potentially 2023. Okay. Do you think the Seahawks sign somebody? I don't know yet. Leo says Shaq protecting Brady again. He's better than Kappa. Yeah, Shaq is closer to Ali Marpet. Ultra says Mitch is Watson going to Atlanta or what? Unless Atlanta blows them away with their long-term philosophy and plan, I doubt it. But at least they're in the running, right, Ultra? It makes them interesting for a minute. Yes, I heard about Scott Hall. That's why I'm wearing this shirt, bro. Rest in peace, Scott Hall. Legend. Okay. Who do we want to talk about next? Arthur says 2 things, Mitch. I left you a super chat last night, and 30 seconds later, you logged off. Oh, I appreciate that, Arthur. Sorry. DJ Chark for the Lions. I haven't yet. Let's do that one next because Arthur was so kind to send a super chat. So we're going to do the Lions. My guy Arthur, who's always on the Twitter, tweeting at me saying that I'm a dumbass. So let's talk about the Lions. All right. Former Jags wide receiver DJ Chark is signing with the Detroit Lions on a 1-year contract. And it's a nice one for the Detroit Lions. If I was a Lions fan, I probably would have preferred that you signed Chark to a 2 or 3 year contract, given his age and his potential to go off this year. I would have rather been tied down to him a little bit more just in case he goes off so that you get value for him in the future. But getting him nonetheless is very nice for this roster and for this team. You look at the Lions offense, right? Jared Goff, not the biggest fan still. He's not the future, but he's fine for the now. The Lions still got a long way to go to be a true contending team in this NFC North, and they're probably waiting to strike until Aaron Rodgers retires or leaves Green Bay at some point within the next 3 years. And that's the time to strike with that quarterback. But for now, you have a receiving core that's shaping up a little bit. So DJ Chark adds a lot of speed to this position. You've got St. Brown, who's more of a crafty route runner. You know, he is that short intermediate slot receiver type. And then you re-sign Raymond, who does also offer some speed. TJ Hawkinson at tight end. Swift out of the backfield. You have an interesting core of players now, but Chark adds kind of a deep threat ability that you didn't previously have of a legit number 1 receiver, a legit number 1 target with that upside. I'm not saying he's always that or always has been that, but he offers that upside. When you look at his career, whenever he's been healthy, he's been very productive. 1 year he had 1,000 yards. Last year he was looking like he was shaping up to have a very good year. The problem with Chark has mostly been he plays for the dang Jags, okay? And their quarterback position has been up and down and up and down. And they've had 1,500 different quarterbacks playing for them. They've had terrible coaching staffs. And then number 2, injuries. So he's only like 25, I want to say 26. He's 6'4", and he's a 4.3 speed guy. So you got a 6'4" receiver who's 4.3 speed. If I were to tell you that, and he had 1,000 yards 2 years ago, how much money do you think he would actually get? What type of contract would you actually think he got? So I think that the Detroit Lions got a value here, considering what I've seen Christian Kirk get, what Valdez Scantling is about to get, who I think is a worse version of DJ Chark. Allen Robinson's going to get bank. I mean, a lot of these receivers are going to get a ton of money. DJ Chark, 1-year contract, affordable, upgrades your position. You have potential here to keep him in-house down the road if he proves to stay healthy and proves to be that target that you're looking for. But yeah, I like the player a lot, and he's got a lot of upside with a profile of 6'4", 4.3 speed, 1,000-yard history. Not much else to be said. Don't look for this crafty technician. He's more of a raw specimen that makes plays, especially 20 yards plus. And that's where you look for him to make an impact on this team. DJ Chark, 1-year deal with the Detroit Lions. Okay, the Detroit Lions are done. I believe that's the only move they made today. Yeah, they let Chark walk and cashed in on Kirk. I don't know, man. The Jags have been making terrible moves forever. Jeremy says my Jets making quality moves. Okay, that's where we're going to go next. Yes, I agree. Jets making moves. The Jets might be better than New England this year, and I wouldn't even be surprised. All right, the Jets. The New York Jets are upgrading their secondary for 2022 and beyond with a couple young players at safety and cornerback. DJ Reed, one of the more underrated nickel corners in the game, goes from Seattle to the New York Jets. DJ Reed was one of the top graded nickel perimeter corners in Seattle. He plays a little bit everywhere. He started his career at the nickel position with the 49ers and then shifted to more of a perimeter role with the Seattle Seahawks. He wasn't exactly always good, though. He had a rough start with the 49ers, but he proved that he could play a little bit. He's got a toughness to him, definitely an aggressive physical size despite his size, right? He's got that just want to and that mentality of toughness. He's going to tackle and he's going to make plays. And at about 5'9", he's on the smaller side, but very well graded over the last couple years from Pro Football Focus, and probably the best corner on Seattle last year and for the last couple of years potentially. This is a 3-year, $33 million deal. What I like about the move on top of just the player is his age. I think he's about 25, 26 years old. So that's nice. So you get him till he's about 29 in the prime of his career. Just hitting his stride last year was DJ Reed. He already has familiarity with the system playing in Seattle. There's a lot of carryover from Pete Carroll to Robert Saleh. So you know what he's going to be on your team. And then on top of that, you've got a player that's got a little bit of versatility and can play everywhere. And he fits the mentality that your coach wants. And what I see here, a common theme that I see here from DJ Reed and the next signing, which is Jordan Whitehead of the Bucs, is this toughness and this flying everywhere type of mentality. A reckless abandon type of player. And that is exactly what Jordan Whitehead is of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now this contract, I really like Jordan Whitehead. He's only 24 years old. He's a Super Bowl champion. And he's probably one of the hardest hitting safeties in the NFL, Darren Schiappa. And he's also a safety that is excellent against the run. He fits the prototype of the Cam Chancellor type strong safety, plays in the box, gets downhill and makes plays in the run. Can cover well. I wouldn't say that's his strength. I think he's better as a box, like just playmaker where he can fly around and make plays. He's a good tackler, all that stuff. And I think he sets a tone for a defense. His physicality and his style of play is going to be evident immediately for the Jets, similar to Jamal Adams in a way. But I look at Jordan Whitehead as a football player that may be too expensive for the style of football player he is, just because his strength has never been pure coverage. He's a solid zone coverage player, but he's not going to offer much as a one-on-one man coverage guy. But he's young and he fits the scheme, and the Jets tend to play more zone than they play man. So it makes sense across the board for Jordan Whitehead and DJ Reed. I like both these moves. Young football players, scheme fits. They identified these guys with a mentality that their coach wants to play with, and that is going to definitely be immensely better for them in 2022 and beyond. So Jordan Whitehead from the Bucs, DJ Reed from the Seahawks to the New York Jets. Two moves that are going to make them a lot more competitive in the back end for Robert Saleh's defense. What's interesting to me is that they made those moves in last offseason on the D-line, and now they're trying to do those moves in the back end, which I think is interesting. Okay, what is people saying in the chat? Did you see Leonard trying to recruit Allen Robinson and Stephon Gilmore on Twitter? I did not. I've just seen Matt Judon consistently tweeting at people. Have I done the Ravens? I have not done the Ravens yet. So I've done the Jets, the Lions, the Nope. Okay, who have I done? The Niners, the Chiefs, the Patriots, the Giants. Let me organize this for a second. What's up, everybody? If you guys haven't already, make sure you do Gronk Spike, the like button. Also, link is in the description for the new BLV TikTok, so make sure that you give us a follow over there. Bills, Dolphins, Bucks, Vikings. My screen just glitched. Dime says, have you done the Bucks yet? I discussed Shaq Mason. I haven't talked about Russell Gage yet. Randy Gregory. I got to look up Randy Gregory's contract. The Eagles. I did Hassan Reddick a couple days ago. Yesterday, sorry. Have they made any other moves? I gotta find Randy Gregory. Hold on. I didn't have him here in my notes. I don't think. Can't do the Ravens. Okay, I'll do the Ravens next. Hold on. Where is his contract? I can't find it. $5 years, $70 million. Not very specific, but I'll take it. Okay. Let's do the Ravens next. So, Marcus Williams. The Baltimore Ravens are signing a star safety of the New Orleans Saints, Marcus Williams. Free safety, 5 years, $70 million deal. Absolutely huge money. But let me tell you, the Ravens know something about free safeties. This is the team with the greatest free safety in NFL history, Ed Reed. Marcus Williams is following that lineage of the Baltimore Ravens, and this is a much-needed upgrade at the safety spot. They have needed a safety since they let go of Earl Thomas, and they get one next to Chuck Clark as their strong safety. They have Marcus Peters and Marlon Humphrey at cornerback. The Ravens are trying to build a secondary that can slow down Allen, Mahomes, Herbert, and company in the AFC, and Marcus Williams is the type of smart football player with the range to cover that is exactly what they need. Now, I've been curious about Baltimore in terms of their defensive philosophy with their switch in coaching staff, with getting rid of Wink Martindale, one of the best defensive coordinators in my opinion in the NFL. He goes to the Giants. They say goodbye to him. So they're switching their philosophy. Is this a philosophy switch to more zone coverage, or is this a philosophy switch just to be more coverage oriented in the back end? Regardless of that, Marcus Williams can play in just about any system you ask. If you want a blitz and for him to be that free roaming safety in the back, then he can do that. If you want him to be a cover 2 safety and take away half the field, he can do that as well. But he's great at playing the football. He's great in specifically just zone coverage. He's not always been like a man coverage guy. You can't really ask him to come down and like take a tight end away. That's not really his role. That will be more so Chuck Clark. But I imagine that Marcus Williams is going to be what they wanted Earl Thomas to be in this defense, which is that safety that plays probably more so than anything else that post safety down the middle, that jumps the deep routes and commands the defense, leads the defense from the back end, and doesn't give up the big play. That's exactly what the Ravens are looking to do here, is don't give up the big play. Marcus Williams is somebody that is not always going to show up on the stat sheet, but he's one of the more important safeties in the NFL and has been for the Saints because they did not give up big plays with Marcus Williams in that secondary, patrolling that secondary. And that's what Marcus Williams is going to do for the Ravens because he's very instinctual and he's reading that offense and he's making plays. And that is exactly what Marcus Williams will do for Baltimore. I'm intrigued to see how he fits and how they use him. That's my best guess. With the new defensive philosophy, we'll see the rest of it unfold for the rest of the offseason. But this is a massive upgrade for a position of need for Baltimore and a good young safety that will be there in their lineup for years to come. All right, Marcus Williams to the Ravens, baby. There we go. Who's next? Uh-oh, did we get a signing? Houston Texans Deshaun Watson will meet with Atlanta on Wednesday. There you go, Ultra. There you go. Who's next? Randy Gregory? Randy Gregory is next. Guys, Gronk Spike the like button. The Denver Broncos are signing defensive end pass rushing extraordinaire Randy Gregory of the Dallas Cowboys. 5 years, $70 million. Now, this was a crazy deal because the Dallas Cowboys tried to sign him, and then he said, no, sir, I don't like the terms of the contract. I'm going to go to the Broncos. I heard they got Russell Wilson. You know what actually happened here? Randy Gregory said, oh, I didn't know the Broncos had Russell Wilson. I must have missed that. I must have been living in a cave. Randy Gregory saw that Russell Wilson was on the Broncos and was like, hold up, wait a minute. I'm going to Denver to play on the opposite side of Bradley Chubb. This is going to be one of the better pass rushing duos in football with those two guys getting after Mahomes and Herbert. It's essential that you have these pass rushers. Gregory is a player that whenever he has kept his head on straight, because it can become loose every once in a while, he is a demon getting to the quarterback. He is relentless. He is everything you want in a pass rusher. Strong, fast, quick. I mean, he's got all of the tools in the toolbox, does Randy Gregory. He's a little bit undisciplined, which is his downside. Undisciplined off the field, undisciplined on the field, and he can take some penalties, but when his head is on straight, he is a game changer, and that's what you pay is game changers in the NFL. He can change a game. He can make a big hit in the run or the pass game. He could strip the football from a quarterback. He could create relentless pressure and was a huge part of that Cowboys edge rush last year. It's going to be tough for the Cowboys to replace him, but the Broncos now have somebody that can complement Chubb very well and can give an opposite side threat of a pass rush for Denver. I'm intrigued to see what Denver does to make sure that secondary is on point, but now they've got that pass rush on point. Randy Gregory to the Broncos, 5 years, $70 million. Greg Hardy. So are you saying that he's going to go to the UFC? Coming soon to the UFC, Randy Gregory. All right. Broncos are done. Who else we got? We got Russell Gage. Russell Gage, my boy. We got the Steelers. A couple Steelers moves. Let's talk about Russell Gage. What's going to happen to Von Miller? He might go to the Broncos, or not the Broncos, sorry. He might go to the Cowboys. Okay. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers not only added Shaq Mason to their offensive line today, trading for him from New England, but getting a nice, useful receiver with some versatility for Tom Brady. The offense is ready to go for the Bucs. Tom Brady has a new receiver, Russell Gage, from the Atlanta Falcons. Gage is signing a 3-year, $30 million contract, $20 million of it guaranteed. So now when you look at the Bucs, their offense is pretty much on point. Brady at quarterback. They got to figure out what their running back situation is, which is the last piece of the puzzle. But their offensive line from left to right, Donovan Smith. You've got Aaron Stinney back in the fold, taking over for Alex Kappa. Then center, Ryan Jensen re-signed, right guard Shaq Mason, and right tackle Tristan Wirfs. Gronk should undoubtedly be back. You've got Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Russell Gage. Russell Gage will basically be the Antonio Brown of this offense now. Not saying he's quite the talent that Antonio Brown was, but he is similar in terms of he can play on the outside, he can play on the inside. He's a very crafty and consistent route runner. He knows how to create separation through his route running ability, and he's a good middle of the field receiver. He's not excellent after the catch, and I wouldn't call him a fantastic deep threat, but he is a very good chain mover and is really good from like the 5 to 25 yard range, which is primarily where Tom Brady feasts the most. And I think he's going to be able to really create some tough mismatches for opposing secondaries when Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and Gronk are on the field. Gage is going to be somebody that's drawing the third or the fourth cover guy, and he'll be able to really win in those situations. I mean, think to it. Atlanta had him as their number one for a majority of the year last year, and he was still being productive. He had about 700 yards and actually played some of his best games versus Tampa Bay. So they take this player from their rival. He's still young, too. He's only 25 or 26. So Tampa Bay gets a good mix of a well-rounded, versatile player who's played a lot of snaps in the slot, but also this season proved he could play on the perimeter. He's an ideal Bucs system fit, and he's young, so he'll be there for the whole Tom Brady tenure, and then maybe after that. And he can complement what they have in Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and is somewhat different from both of those players. So Russell Gage, I think, is a fantastic signing, and I think it's solid value on the contract because I do think he's an underrated player. If I were to compare him to somebody of the past for Tom Brady, I look at him as a mix of Jacoby Myers and Jabbar Gaffney. Like not a true number one, but a decent number two, but a quality number three, and pretty, like 6'1", 6'2" size, good route runner, not a lot of vertical speed, but Brady has been able to get a lot out of those guys in the past, so I think he's going to be productive for Tampa Bay, especially in those big games where they need other guys to step up, which was a problem last year because they didn't have the depth last year, but they'll have it now, and they also got a guy that's quiet. He's not going to make noise. He's not going to take his jersey off. He's not going to run out of the Jet Stadium when the team is trailing or he's upset. He's going to play his role and play it well, and that's Russell Gage for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Another move for the offense of Tom Brady to try to get them back to the Super Bowl. All right, that is Russell Gage. We are done Russell Gage. It's crazy how all these moves just stopped happening once I went live. Tommy says JETS. Waiting for the Jets. Come on, Tommy. Help me out here. Come on, Tommy. Matthew said still suck. Okay. So we're done that. Bodo! Thank you for the super chat, Mr. Bodo. Let's add to the broadcast, Bodo. $9.99 from Bodo Winter. What incredibly intelligent thing does he have to say now? Brady is old. His stick is, I don't know if you meant shtick or stick, but he says his stick is old. HGH is old. Gronk is so old, he's going to another division. Mitch, just admit it. You're in love with the greatest quarterback of all time. Hey, at least you admitted he's the greatest quarterback of all time. But Bodo, I don't know if you watched football last year, but Tom Brady didn't look old to me. I don't think he's going to look old this year either. So, Bucks are looking good on offense for sure. I would like the Bucks to add a nickel corner and add a pass rusher personally. Batman was amazing. Get out of here. No taste, Bodo. You're the first person that said you hated it. Okay. I don't know if you mean Batman sucks or the Batman sucks, regardless. Okay, let's talk about Bodo's Steelers. Steelers making some moves today. The Pittsburgh Steelers have made a couple moves. One on the offensive line, one in the secondary. Two primary spots of need for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're not giving up hope. Even post Ben Roethlisberger, they're still trying to make a move towards being competitive, and in that playoff conversation are the Pittsburgh Steelers. Former Bears guard James Daniels is finalizing a 3-year deal with the Steelers, sources confirm. Just 24 years old and can play guard and center. This, to me, is a home run move. When I saw this, I said, darn it, Steelers, you're making good moves now. I haven't always loved your moves, especially some of the trades and free agent signings. I definitely have been critical of the Steelers management in the past. This is a darn good move. I can't even doubt it. James Daniels is an excellent player. He's only 24 years old, and he's at the biggest need on your roster, the offensive line. This is a great move. Plus, he's got versatility to play center or guard, just in case you need him to play center, but you did sign Mason Cole as well, who could play center. So, yeah, this is a great move. I really don't have much to say about this other than I like the player. I think he's especially been really good. And this is along the lines of what the Steelers are looking for on offensive linemen. They're looking for the quickness in the feet, the ability to move. And Daniels has that. Daniels has that ability to move in space, the quickness in the feet. That's the same type of guy over and over and over again that the Steelers are targeting here. Daniels is in that same line, in that same group of players. They're looking for more of those like traditionally zone blockers. And Daniels is excellent in that. You know, he's been really good on the Bears despite being on a really bad offensive line. And I think he's one of the more underrated names at this position because nobody really knows who he is. But he's only 24 and he is going to be with the Steelers for the next 3 years. So yeah, I can't say enough about this move. I feel like this is one of the best moves I've seen in free agency because you're getting a player at this age. You're getting at your biggest need, and you're getting somebody that is going to be really, really good for a long time, I feel. So, and he's already shown in every season of his career that he is playing at a very high level. So James Daniels to the Steelers on a 3-year contract. The other move is Levi Wallace, 2-year contract worth $8 million. This is right in the long line of Steelers cornerbacks, zone cover corner from the Buffalo Bills, and Levi Wallace is not going to shatter earth here with his ability. He's not J.C. Jackson. He's not Stephon Gilmore. The Steelers wanted those players, but he is Levi Wallace. He is a number 2 cornerback, and you better like it. But that is not a shot at Levi Wallace. He's been a quality number 2 corner and a reliable number 2 corner for the Bills, one of the better defenses and pass defenses over the last 4 years, 5 years under Sean McDermott, and he's going to play a role for Mike Tomlin's defense, and he's going to play it probably really solid. Don't expect him to be elite. Don't expect him to be a game changer, but he's going to be solid. And that's exactly what he is. A number 2 corner. Just don't expect him to shut down the number 1s of the world. But playing that opposite side, he's going to do a good job. He's a smart football player, plays his role very well. You never really see him get burnt very often. And yeah, I just think this is a nice quality addition to the Steelers secondary, a secondary that needed some depth and needed some quality, and he's going to compete for one of the perimeter positions on this team come 2022. And it's also a very cheap contract, 2 years, $8 million. That is a deal, a steal potentially for the Steelers. Okay, Steelers are done. Danny says, welcome, Shaq. Danny, don't make me cry, bro. Why are you doing this to me? But I'm happy that he went to the Bucks. When I saw he got traded to the Bucks, I was like, yeah, that makes sense. But I was also like, at least it was the Bucks. Like, if you would have traded him to like the Chiefs, I would have cried. No moves lately. No moves. Colts re-signed Tyquan Lewis. That's about it, but I don't really need to talk about that. That's a solid move. All right. What else we got here? We got a few more. If you guys want to ask me any questions, just let me know in the chat. Gronk Spike the like button. What's up, Tori? How you doing? Nice to see you. I'm doing good. Thank you for asking. Okay. So we got Texans. I could do that one. Bills. I could do J.D. McKissick to the Bills. Dolphins signed Connor Williams. Vikings signed Jordan Hicks. And there's a few other small signings. I don't know. Maybe talk about that later. Singh wants to talk about Jordan Hicks. So, okay, we'll talk about Jordan Hicks next. I've been good, Tori. I've missed you in the chat, man. Thank you for joining. Okay. Jamison Crowder. The Chiefs. I don't know. Okay. Let's go with Jordan Hicks. The Minnesota Vikings are adding to their front seven once again. Harrison Phillips already an addition for them. They let go of Michael Pierce a little bit surprisingly. Now they've added linebacker Jordan Hicks, 2 years, max $12 million. Jordan Hicks, I almost feel like has fallen into the underappreciated category because of all the talk of him being traded or cut or moved by the Arizona Cardinals, and it almost felt like a disrespectful relationship there in Arizona, despite his productivity and his availability for Arizona over the last couple of years, and he's played well. I mean, I don't really understand the critical nature of that relationship in Arizona, but Jordan Hicks is still a good football player. Is he a premier linebacker, maybe the way that you looked at him a few years ago before he signed the Cardinals contract? No, he was never elite, but he was really, really good back when the Eagles let him go and he went to Arizona. Now he's a little bit older, but still not that old. I believe he's about 28 or 29. He's still not even 30, I want to say. And he's still playing at a high level, and he's been consistently available, doesn't miss many games. He's a good tackler, smart zone coverage player. Maybe can't run and move the way he used to, but will be a very nice complement to Eric Kendricks, right? And that's what I think the Vikings are looking to do here. Who knows with the Vikings? I mean, who knows? They might trade Eric Kendricks or release him knowing them. But in my mind, Hicks is a nice complement to Eric Kendricks. Maybe you take a little bit responsibility away from Hicks, where he's had a lot of responsibility in the past, in terms of that athleticism and flowing, from sideline to sideline, and you play a more restricted role for him, and he can really thrive in that role. But like I said, This is just a consistently productive football player, good tackler, smart player, well-rounded player, good zone coverage player for a majority of his career, and adds an intelligent force to that second level for the Vikings in what's likely to be, obviously a zone scheme change and overall a philosophy change on the defensive side of the football, more towards a Fangio-style defense as opposed to the Zimmer style of defense. Anthony Barr is a free agent. It doesn't appear that he's going to be back, so Hicks will likely step up into his spot. Is not quite the athlete that Barr is, but definitely is a smart football player that is going to be capable starter for them. So Hicks to the Vikings, now on his third team in his NFL career. I just think has been disrespected far too much, and I think the Vikings got maybe a little bit of a deal because of that here. 2 years, $12 million for Minnesota. Okay. Yes, Chase Winovich got traded. I talked about that very early in the video if you want to go back and watch. Connor Williams, I got to discuss. Let's try to get this done for 8:30 here. Let's go with J.D. McKissic and Connor Williams. Danny says, what did you think of new wide receiver Bucks Russell Gage? I talked about it. Go scroll back a little bit. I just talked about it. But I like it a lot. He's a very quality number 3. He can step up as a number 2 when Chris Godwin is out. Good route runner. I think he's going to be good for them. Okay, let's start with J.D. McKissic. The Buffalo Bills are adding a receiving threat from the backfield with J.D. McKissic of the Washington, well, I guess it would be the Washington football team, now the Washington Commanders. J.D. McKissic signs a 2-year, $7 million deal for the Buffalo Bills and adds that receiving weapon for Josh Allen from the running back position. As much as Devin Singletary did an admirable job and they've had backs catch the football for them, J.D. McKissic is a different specimen, a different world of running back when it comes to the refined ability to run routes and to get open and make plays as a receiver. He's been extremely underrated for Washington over the last couple of years, and I believe has the second most targets at the running back position, only behind Alvin Kamara over the last 2 years. You get him for 2 years, you get him for $7 million. McKissic is a playmaker in the screen game and can win isolation routes from the backfield versus all linebackers in the game. He's really good on those little option routes and things. And I believe that's a difference maker for Josh Allen for that consistency in the short passing game that the Bills are looking for. One of the things that hurt the Bills last year was when teams took away a lot of their deep passing attack, they were not capable of consistently beating a team underneath. Now they grew, they got better, and they developed, and eventually they were able to do so. But McKissic adds that extra complement to a Cole Beasley or that slot receiver type player that's also going to work the underneath. Now you have a second answer to that type of defense where McKissic is going to find the soft spots in the zone. He's going to be able to beat those man coverage linebackers. And now every area and blade of grass of the field has to be covered, from the vertical to the intermediate to the short, in all areas and all facets. And that's why I really love this move. I thought they were going to go after somebody like a Chase Edmonds. There was rumors about a trade for Saquon Barkley, but J.D. McKissic makes all the sense in the world to me as somebody that is going to help Josh Allen, maybe not in terms of the big chunk plays, but the reliable, easy completions for this offense. McKissic is done. Okay. Any more moves here? Texans Approved trade packages from the Saints, the Panthers, and the Browns. Wow. So does that mean Watson basically just chooses which team he wants to play for? That's funny. On Twitter, Chandler Jones put the eyeballs when NFL Network tweeted Chandler Jones will sign with blank. He put the eyeballs, and then Matthew Judon tweeted underneath, he replied, New England Patriots. This guy's hilarious on Twitter. I recommend following Matthew Judon for his incredible recruiting abilities on Twitter. Very, very entertaining stuff. All right, let's talk about the Dolphins. Connor Williams. The Miami Dolphins have added an interior guard to Tua's offensive line. Connor Williams from the Dallas Cowboys on a 2-year deal. Connor Williams is a younger football player, and this is probably why the Dolphins went after him. Fits a zone-heavy run scheme. Check. Mike McDaniel is going to run a lot of zone scheme coming from San Francisco, coming from the Shanahan tree. This is a staple of that offense. And Connor Williams fits that best coming from the Cowboys. He moves well, but he has had some trouble with power interior linemen. Size, guys that can push the pocket, guys that can manhandle him. And I will say, I think Connor Williams has graded very nicely over the last couple of seasons with Dallas. Specifically, I think he's going to fit nicely into this scheme. And when you look at things like Pro Football Focus grade and stuff, he looks to be like a quality upper echelon starting guard. He's not quite elite, but he's somewhere in that good range, right? From what I've seen, teams have targeted him in pass protection at times when they have that type of interior guy who can kind of like just steamroll you and get to the quarterback. And that seems to be a trouble for me with Connor Williams is the interior pass protection. He's good as a run blocker, I think, but as a pass protector, he's had his ups and downs. So he's certainly somebody with some potential, and he's young, so that's nice. I'm just not sure if he's like a great solution because he has benefited from playing with some really good linemen beside him and on a very good offensive line. So I'm not as high on him as others just personally, but I think he is a solid football player, a solid starting guard, and certainly an improvement and certainly a scheme fit for what Miami wants to do in 2022 and beyond. And a 2-year contract is nice because there's a lot of maneuverability there to be able to get out of it if it doesn't work out or to be able to extend him if it does work out. So this is a nice move for a young guard for the Miami Dolphins at a position of need. Any more moves for the Giants? I talked about Tyrod Taylor, and I think that was their only move today. James Bradbury trade. Did he get traded? When? Where'd he get traded? Darius Leonard said, "What's up, man? I heard blue was your favorite color," to Gilmore. I think we're done, guys. I mean, I could cover a couple of the minor things, but there's nothing too crazy going on here. If you guys have any questions, I'll stick around for a couple more minutes. James Bradbury could be traded, as someone brought up in the chat. To where? Maybe, I think the number one team would be the Raiders. I would look for them to make a move there. Who the Raiders also signed cornerback Darius Phillips. I like him. I think he has potential, especially in man coverage schemes, which is what the Raiders are going to play probably more so than anything else. So I think Phillips is a nice athlete, has showed some upside. I think he definitely could add some nice quality depth for the Raiders there at the corner position on a 1-year deal. That's a solid move. The Colts, on the other hand, agreed to a 1-year deal with former Raiders corner Brandon, is it Fakeson? I don't know how to say his name, but he started in the playoffs versus the Bengals and played a role. He wasn't great. The Bengals consistently picked on him in that game in particular, which is why I remember. But he was kind of like in and out of the starting lineup. He's a depth corner. He fits that scheme. Obviously, Gus Bradley's familiar with him. That's just another move where a coach from another team sees potential in this player. He's a scheme fit for that scheme. It makes sense, you know. Taven Bryan signed with Cleveland. That's a move that I feel you're trying to bank on a former first-round pick, right? Cleveland likes to make these moves. Bryan actually had his best season of his career last year, arguably, with Jacksonville. And he's interior defensive line depth, which Cleveland desperately needed. So that's another nice move. Dante Foreman to the Panthers, $2 million deal. I think for 1 year. Actually, I thought he played really well for Tennessee. I think the Titans are going to miss him as a backup. If Derrick Henry goes down again, I thought he did an admirable job filling in because he's very similar to Derrick Henry. He doesn't have quite the speed, but he's big. He's a big back. He'd be able to complement Christian McCaffrey quite well as a in-between the tackles runner. And yeah, I think he has a lot of upside as a backup and a role player as a power runner. So that's a decent move too for the Panthers. So those are all the moves that I saw like recently. I had some issues with my last stream. I still haven't been able to access the HD version on YouTube, which is annoying. I'm still working on that. Because I want to be able to potentially access it and then release the clips, but we'll see. All right. I think I'm done for tonight. That's pretty much every move. Let's just check if something broke. Doesn't look like it. Josina Anderson says, so many good guys left out there. A few told me today they're low-key waiting on Deshaun Watson to make his decision. Okay. Well, Watson, make your damn decision, bro. All right, guys. Thanks for joining me live. If you enjoyed this live stream, don't forget to Gronk Spike the like button and subscribe for more BLV. Appreciate you guys joining me live for the last couple of days. Expect more live streams coming up for the rest of the week. Tomorrow I'll be live, probably similar time as yesterday, or as today, sorry. And then I'll cover all the moves that happens tomorrow, and I'll probably do this for the rest of the week. And then at some point, I'll start releasing individual videos of my reactions as well, whenever I can figure out the best way to do that. Also, please don't forget to follow the TikTok. If you're on TikTok, heavily suggest you follow the Bottom Line View on TikTok. I'm going to be releasing, individual content that you don't find on YouTube on TikTok. So make sure you follow there for some of my quick reactions to some of this NFL free agency madness. Thanks, guys, for watching. It's Mitch. Peace.